Okay, I'm going to assume that my channel is live. I'm going to assume that everyone can hear me as well. Alright, so what I'm going to try to show everyone today is how to make a evented menu that's image-based for RPGMaker MV. I made a similar system back in ACE. It surprisingly wasn't too hard to do. This one, on the other hand, took a while to figure out. So just to show y'all what it is that it does, basically, it disables your standard menu access and see, hit menu key, nothing happens. You move around, yada yada, hit your custom key and it pulls up a custom menu. And I mean, as you can see, I have everything that you could need, easily selectable. Go to equip, clear it, optimize it, whatever. Also, it functions on every map. Look at statuses, So that's what I want to be showing y'all how to do today. There is I'm using two separate plugins. I mean, you only have to use one really, and that's a keybind plugin. I'm using ET-MapKey. You can get it from RPGMaker.co, I think it is, or something along those lines. Oh, that's the one that's finished. This is the one I'm going to be building on. I'm using, like I said, two ET-MapKey and SRD's Preloader core because it loads all the menu images from the start. ET-MapKey basically lets you use your entire keyboard, and you can use any script calls that RPGMaker allows by pressing any key. You need two switches, two variables. Those are the two plugins I use. The only one that's actually needed is the ET-MapKey. I assume that any keybind that allows you to do script calls will work, but that's the one that I found that I like. You have one on-map event that you have to have, and basically it turns on your BS switch. I call it BS because it is BS. I mean, it's only there to make your menu even be able to work. It's a self-calling event, and it erases itself. While we have this open, I'll show you the other switches, the variables, and then we'll go on from there. You got your first switch is your BS switch, and then your main switch that you have to have is your menu switch. Basically, the way it's going to end up working is while the BS switch is turned on, it will call the event and the common events that disables your entire menu system, making it to where when you hit your custom key, it turns on the menu switch, which will run the menu that you design. The two variables you have to have are MenuBase, SubMenuBase. I mean, the names don't matter, that's just how I call them. But MenuBase controls the three primary parts of your menu that I showed you, where it was gear, player, and end. SubMenuBase are the drop-down menus that you actually call your scenes from. Alright, so that's that. And let's go have a look at, yay, common events. Okay, so I may have to refer back to my other file occasionally, but the three common events that you need is these three right here. MenuStart, like I said, that's the first one. I have it set to run parallel when the BS switch is on. As you can see, if you hover over the trigger box, it'll tell you what each one does, but if you don't want to do that, auto run runs when the specific switch is on. None, if there's no trigger, it only runs when it's called up explicitly. In parallel is like a cycle thing. It constantly runs while the switch is on, that's what we want, because in here is where we disable your menu access. If you've never looked, it's on tab 3 of the event commands under system settings, change menu access, and either enable or disable. Then we have a conditional branch of if, and then I think it's tab 4, which is script. Then you put in your code for the plugin that I'm using, which for me is, like I said, the ET map key, but it's if the input key of B is triggered. Now with this plugin you can use any keyboard button, so you can use B as standard, or you can even use the JavaScript syntax of I think B is 66, and then in the squirrely brackets you put the script call that you're going to be using, and for mine I'm calling common event 2. So whenever the custom key of B is pressed, it's going to call common event 2, which that's what I'm going to show you how to build right here. For me, common event 2 is my base menu. Y'all can put it however you want, but I have it set to auto run whenever the menu key is, or the menu switch is turned on. So let's see how we're going to do this. Okay. First off, we want to make certain that our switch for menu is on. Then we want to do a conditional branch of button push, and we're going to put it in cancel. That way we know right off the rip, if we hit cancel, this right here is going to happen. And then we're going to hit create else branch, so when it circles down, if you're not hitting escape, this is what is happening. Alright, so when we hit escape, we want our switch of menu to be turned off. We want to change our variables to 0. Set constant 0. Variable set to submenu. Constant 0. And we want to erase any pictures. And not show picture. Erase picture, number 1. Okay. So that says anytime you hit escape, which is to cancel, I think X is also cancel, it turns menu switch off and changes the variables of MenuBase, SubMenuBase to 0, and erases all pictures. Now, if you're not hitting escape, when you press the button, it's going to default to 0 on all variables. So you pull up conditional branch if variable MenuBase equals 0, because indexing starts at 0. You want something to happen. What you want to happen is you want it to show the picture. So show your first picture, which is M1 for me. I don't change any of this. You can, obviously, if you need to, but I find it's easier to work with if you just leave that blank. Okay, so after you show your picture, that's the first part of your menu. That right there, it just, when you hit your button now, it will pull up and be like, this is it. This is what you're seeing now. So you need to set your controls, like your directional controls. Next thing you're going to want to do, wrong button there. Let me double check something, but I'm pretty certain I remember it right. Yeah, directly underneath. Okay, so next one up is your conditional branch. Variable, no, not variable, D2D button, because we're setting our controls. If your right arrow key is pressed, you want to change your variable by 1. So control variable, menu base, add 1. Okay. Then you want to wait 30 frames. initially when I was doing this, a couple of the Discord groups that I was in, we were discussing it and throwing stuff back and forth, and it was decided that 30 was the best. I personally have tested up to 20, and it seemed too short. 30, I've tested it after they suggested it, and it seems to be about right. So that's your menu base starting out. Okay, all that says is when the keys hit to activate your menu, if you don't hit cancel, show this picture. Then if you hit the right button, show this picture still, but change this variable. So next we want to go and set what happens if you try to access a submenu, which is pretty much the same thing right here. We'll copy this, paste it here, but we'll change the button press to down, and the control variable needs to be changed to SubMenuBase. Other than that, that's correct. Now we need to also take this, copy it, because you can hit up key and paste it, change this to up, and then edit the variable to subtract from SubMenuBase. So that is your first, basically your first page of your menu. So we're going to take and copy this, go to here, paste it. Alright, that will be your second page. So we're going to change our menu base variable if it equals 1. Same thing is going to happen, except we're going to show a different picture. For me, it's M2. And then we're going to add a different button press. So we'll copy this, paste it, and what we want is the left arrow key. And subtract 1 from our variable. So basically what we just did is we just made it to where, in addition to all the other button presses, accessing submenu, not accessing submenu, if you hit the left arrow key, it will take one away from the variable base. Since that's done, you can sit here and copy this, go down here, paste it, and just change your menu base variable to 2, and your image to the third image that you're using for your menu base. Okay, so that's pretty much it for that, but then you gotta look at it and be like, wait a minute, even though I'm pressing down to change the variable of my submenu, nothing is changing. Well, it's because you have to call the SubMenuBaseCommonEvent from inside this common event itself. So right here, where it says down is pressed, you want to click new underneath it. I want to say it's tab 1. Yeah, common event, and select your submenu base, and then just click OK. And then just copy it, and then paste it every time there's a down up being pressed. Wait, that's the wrong one. Left, right, down, so down there, paste, up, paste, down, paste, up, paste. So that right there is your base menu for this. Okay? Doesn't look too fancy, I know, but it works. Now, something that I like to do to make it to where it'll actually keep the variables in control, I like to do this right here. If variable menu base equals, we'll do equal to or greater than, no, we'll just do equals 3, set variable menu base to 0. So that way, while you're hitting the right arrow key, it goes first slot, second slot, third slot, so that's index 0, 1, 2, and then variable hits 3, it tells it to switch it back to the first slot. So it gives you like a cycling highlighting effect. Alright, so we can hit apply. Now we're going to do SubMenuBase. Okay, let me double check this to be certain that I'm going to tell you the right thing. I will end up linking these common events in text in the description of this video when it's done. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought it was. Alright, so first thing we want to do is put conditional branch if variable menu base equals 0, if wrong button there, if variable submenu base is equal to or less than 1, we want to show an image. So show picture, and this is going to be the first submenu picture, so it'll have the submenu included. Okay, now we want to set a new if function, so conditional branch, tab 4, button if OK is pressed down. We want to actually call the event. Let me see here. Wrong book, there we go. Okay, so the first thing that we would be calling is the item scene. So go to new, tab 3, script, and this is where you actually type in the script call to go to the scene that you're running from. When I was first doing this for MV, I was using scenemanager.goto, and it was causing the game to crash. So make certain you use scenemanager.push, not .goto. Scenemanager.push, open bracket, scene item, underscore item, that is. Close bracket, and then that weird thingy right there. Hit OK. So what this says is for your submenu, if your menu base variable is 0 and your subbase, your submenu base variable is equal to or less than 1, show submenu picture, and then if someone hits the OK key, call this scene. Okay. So basically, we'll just take this, copy it, paste it here, change this to be equal to or greater than 2, change the image to the second image, which will show the equip screen being accessible, and then just go into Scene Manager and change the word item to equip. So that's done for that. Now, what I've done is I go in and add, and this is to keep the rotation thing so it keeps going around. Conditional branch if variable submenu base is equal to or greater than 3. Change control variable menu base to 0. Make certain that's correct. I think it is, to be certain. Senior base. No, it's SubMenuBase. Okay. My mistake. SubMenuBase. There we go. And we want to show the image of M1, which is your first one. Okay, so that is your full submenu setup. So all you do is take and copy that and paste it here. Well, assuming it worked, yes. And then you go here, edit, change the constant to 1. And then here, change your image to your second set of submenus, which will show, for me, skill being selected. And then just go here, edit, and change that to skill. And lovely. My headset's telling me it's dying. 1 second for me to plug it in. There we go. That should work nice. Alright, so we change that to skill. For this one, change it to the second image, which is that, which shows status being selected. And just change equip scene to status. And that would be the same. So again, just take copy and paste for the third set. Go ahead and change the pictures, edit to B, which is go to title. And M3A, which is save. Change that to save. And then menu base gets changed to 2. Okay, so that's all that. Now, if, wrong button there. If cancel is pressed, I want to change all variables to 0. Now, to be 100% honest, I don't know if this is actually necessary, but this is just how I've done it. So, I mean, that's just me. Turn the switch off and erase all pictures. Alright, now, in theory, I've not tested it, obviously, since I just built this. But in theory, everything that I just done should work. I have a map transfer here to show that it should work on 2 different maps. I have my control switch set up to activate my BS switch. So let's see how this works. If it will work. second. There we go, that'll fix it. Okay, now let's see how it works. Okay. So yeah, move around. It's a test map. I did not design this. Alright. Oh, look at that. Check the status screen. Okay. Let's go check the next map. Make certain I'm not crazy. Well, crazier than normal. And voila. Alright, so there you have it. It's simple. It's not that complicated. Might be a little time consuming. The only thing is that right now it does not support mouse input or touchscreen. I'm trying to figure out a way to make that happen using events, but I think there'll be actual plugins that are required for it. Other than that, I really can't think of anything. In the description for this video, I'll have link to the 2 plugins I used. Credit obviously will be given for Interbrain, yada yada yada. And I will have the text version of the 2 events needed to all 3 common events needed to make this happen using the plugins that I have. But other than that, that's pretty much everything. As soon as I make this work, I will end this video. There we go.